Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Tilo Mad coming at you with a new exclusive clip from the Mad Awesome Show. And if you aren't aware of what this is, it's a weekly show that me, myself, and Calvin Awesome do every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So definitely try to come out to these, be a part of the conversation, and also the recording as we do this live. And if you cannot make it, don't feel bad. We got you covered. We are actually releasing this on iTunes and Spotify as a podcast. So definitely give us a follow there. We're trying to get the algorithm up there, as well as our Twitch and our YouTube. Both of us putting in that work, putting in that grind as content creators. So really appreciate any help that we can get. But without any further ado, let's get down to this exclusive Mad Awesome clip.
We just, for everyone coming in, we just finished talking about the GAC recap, and we're going to be working our way into our leg day, talking about what we're going to be coming up for the next season, specifically highlighting something that everyone is not happy about. But before we do that, let's get this going.
Let us talk leg day. Important it is. How do you think I jump so high at my age?
All right, so Tilo, let's combine the questions here. How do you feel about having to put 3 fleets down?
I know we talked about this a little bit on Jedi Academy with Ranger, but I'm okay with it. I'm one of those dudes that I suck at fleet. Fleet is not my favorite part of this game at all, but it's a natural progression of where the game's going. We're constantly getting new characters, and now they're starting to introduce more fleets. It was bound to happen. Is it a little premature? Yes, but it's one of those things that it was going to happen regardless. One of the things that we did talk about is I could see it justified for K1 and K2, but anything below that, it seems kind of harsh, especially for those newer players and those lower GP players. That's going to really punish them going against people that are higher GP or been in the game a little bit longer than them.
Yeah, I think I pretty much have more or less the same opinion. I get why they have to do it. I get that I feel like personally with my roster, with the Interceptor coming in, with the Finalizer finally getting a bomber and really being a fully fledged fleet, I finally don't feel uncomfortable with fleet, because I was always at that point where I wasn't always 100% sure if I was going to go the full clear, depending on how RNG went with the Executor. So I finally felt good about it, and then CG goes and drops this. And I think that's really, whether you like it or not, and a lot of people do, I think that's just kind of the model of the game, is to make you constantly feel like you haven't arrived, so you still have something to work toward. That being said, to echo a little bit of what you were saying, that's for me and that's for you, which for anyone listening, we both are in like the 7 mil GP area, where we don't have everything. We have close to everything. And there are so many people in K5 or K4 or K3 that are not even remotely close. Like, I made a video on this, and one of the people in my comments was like, dude, I'm in K5 and I have 5 capital ships.
Jeez.
Which, really impressive of that guy, sure, like, good on him, but at the same time, the K5 and the K1 worlds are just completely different.
Oh yeah, and then the thing is, where it is right now, you can get away with only having a couple capital ships, as long as maybe you take all your best capital ships on offense. But now with this extra 3rd fleet, it's going to be tough, because there's no way you're going to get past somebody that puts Executor, Negotiator, and Malevolence down on defense. What are you going to do?
Well, luckily,
and still have to set your own defense? That's tough.
Luckily, the way the board is still set, it's not just an automatic game over. Because if you have a different type of advantage, let's say Omicrons or mods or GLs or something, you can still just play if you know your weakness of ships. Like, let's say this guy on my YouTube video puts 5 capital ships. Just stack everything you have in front of ships, let him clear bottom, and then you try to clear his bottom, assuming bottom is worth more points. So there is still quite a bit of strategy here, even if you don't have the fleets already. It's just going to depend on the matchup. It's just going to depend on the matchup. Yeah. If your opponent just has everything you don't have, then you're just going to be at a disadvantage no matter what.
And I know you talked about it too, and I'm totally in agreement with you. I'm about making fleets a non-factor. I'm gonna put pretty much all my crazy stuff on defense, and hopefully they don't get through it and make it a ground game. It's basically playing to my strengths anyways. If I can bring it to the ground instead of being hinged on fleet anyway. So I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that out a little bit in the beginning because I've mentioned this a few times, and there's always been smart people, granted, that are like, well, you can use this to counter this, you can use this to counter this, and you can counter this. It just depends, because if one of those things goes wrong, then you it's not even a question of the whales versus the free-to-play or whatever. Because you can be as whale as you want. You can spend thousands of millions of dollars. At the end of the day, there's still only enough ships to field 7 fleet. If you get bad RNG on one fight, then you just lose. Or you don't necessarily lose, but you don't clear. You don't clear at all now. Actually, I guess you have 2. But still, out of my last, let's just go here and check the funsies. In my last JC, and you guys can't see this, but I think every single match with the current 2 situation, every opponent needed an average of, let's see, this guy needed 4 fleets to take down my 2. So if he had to set 1 more in defense, then he would have been just at the limit. And assuming, well, he has to take another one, so he wouldn't have been able to do it. He had to use 3 against example. The other guy had to use 5. He had these two players, no one would have full cleared. Out of my last 3 opponents, no one would have full cleared if we had 3 fleets on defense. Just because, number 1, we don't have enough ships, and number 2, Executor does not have a consistent shot.
Oh yeah, and then that's the thing. It's like fleet is the one area in this game that has so much RNG. Characters, you can manipulate it by mods and by turn order and all sorts of stuff to where you can have a controlled outcome. And even then, it still has RNG. But ships is completely RNG, because if everyone's at R9 and everyone's equal, it's a roll of the dice. Who goes first? What's going to happen in the fight? Yeah, there's favorable outcomes, but you also have that equally chance of not going your way, and that alone can cost you a battle in fleet. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, you can't just take everything on offense, or your 3 best on offense. You can take Executor, you can take Negotiator, you can take Malevolence or Empire, whatever it is. And in theory, that'll work. But at the same time, you just kind of fork it over to your opponents, and they're probably going to get better banners than you are if they're having to shoot through the best 3. And again, if one of those goes wrong, then they instantly just don't clear.
Exactly, and you're putting so much pressure on yourself if you're doing that.
Yeah,
you have to be perfect.
The hardest ones, yeah, you do have to be perfect.
Where you set a weaker defense, and now your opponent is like, okay, cool, like I can get past this easy. And the ball is completely on your side. Yeah, you may overshoot everything and get good banners, but you still run that risk of losing 1 battle, and that's all it's going to take is that 1 battle. It can cost you the fight. I don't know if it's worth it, in my opinion, to do that, because that's tough, to be honest.